honored to be here. I think it's so cool to see the kind of the tech entertainment industry moving into different areas of the city. We all know Silicon Beach. I think Silicon Beach has had their time and place, and it's nice to see other areas of the city taking advantage of this growing culture. I think it's really important to not just have our bubble over there, but everywhere to empower people that they can do interesting things and innovate. For me specifically, I guess what I'm super passionate about and what we do at What's Trending is we're passionate about telling great stories, but through technology. And it happens that technology that really grew as we were trying to figure out what we were doing was in many ways digital video and specifically YouTube. And so What's Trending was launched in May of 2011. There was a whole evolution to how it launched, and it started very broad in terms of social media. At the time when I created the first outline was in October of 2009, and the term What's Trending was just starting to be used when we were pitching the idea. People thought I was talking about a fashion show. Like, I have such a fashion website, that's so cool. I was like, no, it's because at the time I was very into broadcasting, and I wasn't doing the traditional, going to the affiliates, or I wasn't a host on E! or MTV. I tried to. But I was in digital video, and I was covering everything from politics to entertainment, but I was always being pushed into corners, like, what are you really interested in? Are you an entertainment person? Are you into tech? Are you into this? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of into everything. And if you saw my Twitter feed at the time, it represented that. I felt the most interesting people out there were the people that showed different parts of themselves, and that's what was so great about social media. I was like, there should be a show that represents that. And at the time, I was doing blogs for CBSNews.com covering internet culture, digital trends. It was just the time where Ashton Kutcher had hit 1 million Twitter followers. So it was this really interesting time of celebrities getting in, and I'd always covered entertainment news, but finally I was covering it from the inside of it more, and their publicists were allowing me to interview these celebrities in a different way than I ever interviewed them, where it wasn't about their junket or their movie, it was about their app, or their Twitter feed, or their web series, and I was the only one really covering it in Los Angeles. And so when What's Trending came, I was like, I think that there's a format, a show out of this. That was about web culture, and it was the people behind the tweets or the blogs that we were all sharing. YouTube was just kind of getting it known. Like, I don't think all of us were consuming YouTube the same way we are right now. And so I pitched in after a year of working on it, trying to get a sponsor. We didn't even have a pilot or anything, and I wanted it to be as high quality as TV. At the time, now we see web video is pretty much almost as high quality as TV. At the time, it was like the bastard child of broadcasting. And I think we're kind of coming out of that time into our own. And so we wanted it not to be in a little room or against a green screen. We wanted it to feel like this could be the future. And so we launched it finally after a year of pitching it in May 2011. And went out on our own, actually, as an independent startup company in September of 2011 after launching with a partner. And basically, as we were kind of growing it, we were everywhere. We were on Ustream and Livestream, and we were very broad. We kept on seeing spikes in the YouTube content we did. When we covered either a viral video that was very heavy on YouTube or a celebrity that was big on YouTube, we saw a spike in our views, and we're like, this is interesting. When we covered everything else, we were like a hashtag, or we put it just a blogger, or someone that has a bigger Twitter following. We're not seeing really the engagement, but we're seeing it when there's something that's directly part of the YouTube culture. And so we pitched YouTube at the time, their innovation lab. And I'm not even asking questions, but I'm anticipating a bit of context.
Let's get to the questions.
So we pitched their innovation lab because they had bought the Next New Networks at the time that became their Next Labs. And we pitched them, what if we went daily on YouTube? Because at the time we were just throwing stuff on YouTube. We weren't really thinking it. And this is what a lot of companies actually do. They just are like, video, I'm gonna throw it on YouTube and see what happens. And yeah, if you're lucky, maybe, okay, it'll catch on. But you need a program to, just like any audience, just like you program to a TV audience, or if you have a male demo that's super into surfing, or any sort of, that's your audience, you need a program to that. And I think now people are starting to get that there's a unique way to program and communicate and connect with that audience. But I think still at the time, it was just about throwing it up there and seeing what works. And we said, like, we want to go exclusive on YouTube, we're going to go daily, and they funded us to do that. And so in August of 2012, we went daily on YouTube, covering the very best YouTube.
So just to clarify, so YouTube funded you?
Yes, YouTube funded us at the time. We went live.
And this was before they started funding channels?
No, this was after. We kind of missed that boat because at the time we had another partner. But no one was doing live the way we were doing it, you know, which is still, you know, a bit of an issue because, you know, at YouTube, as you know, there's a big live events, Coachella. You know, we have the presidential election and debates. Huge events do really well, so it brings people together, and wherever you go on the site, you'll see in the header, watch this now. However, I think we're all still trying to figure out live eventized programming on a real daily basis and how to market that. So I think we were used kind of as an experiment in terms of that. And it's something we've built an expertise on the YouTube platform. And so we built that. We went from like a few million views on our channel to over 20 million now in, you know, basically a year. We're almost at 90,000 subscribers. We should be at 100 very shortly. In July, we got funded by Bedrocket Media, which was founded by Ken Lair and Brian Weedall, who both individually have built huge media companies for acquisition as well. Ken Lair from Huffington Post, Brian Weedall, College Sports TV, Sports Classics, which ended up becoming ESPN Classics. So some really interesting.
But they funded you as a company.
Yeah, as a company. So finally, it kind of went from like, oh, we're a show, which I always knew from the beginning. It went from like, oh, we're a show, but I was like, but how are people going to connect with us first weekly? Well, we should have a website. And then it's like, well, we're a whole hub. We are a property. And I always looked at us as a startup because we had an IP that was very valuable, I've always believed. And the show is just a component of it. So What's Trending Live is just a flagship show that markets everything that we do, but we always saw it as something that we wanted to grow much bigger, to a 360 media property that was powered by technology, kind of like what TMZ has done with their model. They had a very heavy, a very strong and valuable web property, but then they had an own TV. You know, they're just everywhere. They're people can connect with them 24/7. And for us specifically, we see our value in terms of international, What's Trending in Espanol, we hope to launch in other hubs.
Do you want to show some people?
Yeah, so let's create some context. Let's show a little, this is a little trailer. YouTube now does these trailers on the YouTube pages. This is a little trailer that they built out for us that is only 49 seconds long, and then I'm going to show you a bit of our evolution of where we are today.
It's all about the lower body because that's all I got.
Woo! Do it again. What? If anyone is a Kev Joma fan out there, I love you guys.
Oh man, this is one of those moments where I'm like, we're in the future.
That was our best entrance yet.
I almost broke IKEA.
Right now, cat videos out, dog videos in, okay?
2, 1. Under the canopy of the bamboo bee, sipping on Bombay sapphire.
People have a little bit too much time on their hands, I think.
So that's a little look. It's a quick look. I could have showed you our whole format now. But basically, every day we curate what's hot on YouTube, and to give you, I actually prepped a little thing to give you some numbers of how big YouTube is, and I think that people are starting to get that there's a whole, I mean, this is how a whole generation consumes their entertainment and connects with a new form of celebrity. But some people still believe it's like, oh, cat videos, what's the business model? And I think definitely the future brands are going to build a model outside of YouTube, but there's something to be said about the community engagement once you build on a platform, and once you have that loyalty and how to grow it out of the platform. And Smosh, who are two guys, started it out of Sacramento, are a perfect example of, they're 20-somethings that got acquired by Alloy. Not only is they're one of the #1 YouTube channels, but they have a very engaged.com that they sell against their app. I mean, it goes everywhere.
They're doing games.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I try to emphasize to people who kind of see the YouTube space and they're like, what's the value? And yeah, I think if not everyone can be on YouTube, the demo is very young, and it will be broadening out like we've seen everything in social network. Right. But I think once you do create for that audience, you can build out outside of it, and then sell packages in terms of advertising around that. But just to give you some numbers, you might not know, more than 1 billion unique users visit YouTube each month. 6 billion hours of videos watched each month on YouTube. It's almost an hour for every person on Earth, 50% more than last year, which shows how much it's growing. 100 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute. 70% of YouTube comes from outside the US. 40% of our own viewers, which might have changed since we did our reformatting, but work on mobile, which is crazy. It's localized in 56 countries, 61 languages, according to Nielsen, which just now is connecting to YouTube, which is great. YouTube reaches more US adults ages 18 to 34 than any cable network, and millions of subscriptions happen each day. And the number of people subscribing, which is also a new form of, like, it shows how the behavior is changing. Subscribing with the loyalty to subscription-based content on YouTube has doubled since last year. So that just shows where we're headed. And then for us, as what's trending, we say, well, how do you curate all that video content? How do you cut through the noise? And as more people are kind of going to the platform as a destination for their content, where are they going to go to see what's hot, what's cool, who's hot? And we want to be those people in that brand. So there you go.
All right. Let me do my role here as the
Okay, Awesome.
Switching the tables on you for once.
We'll show another clip. We do have another clip. I don't know if when you want to show it.
All right,
Well, should I preface what? So basically, after we partnered with Bedrocket, after we partnered with Bedrocket, we did a bit of reformatting. We had done live daily. We've become experts at that. We go live for major events from CES to South by, and we do big brand deals around that. We did this daily segment called Trending Now, the top 5 hot videos today. And we really felt that when we tapped into it in the right way, when we were discovering a video before it was hot, we saw huge numbers based on SEO and everything. So we said to ourselves, well, what if we did that throughout the day in real time instead of just once a day? So instead of going live daily, we do a big live show every Thursday. I had a live show today with Sean Kingston and Terry Crews, who you might know from Old Spice. And then
it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. But now we've been kind of playing around with this other format where we find a viral video. We have a 6 a.m. video, 9 a.m. video, 11 a.m. and pretty much 2 p.m. So we won't necessarily upload unless it's something that's huge and exclusive and hits after 4 p.m. for this audience, which we found worked well. And we've seen an increase of like 25% of our viewership based on this model. And so this is an example of one of our hosts, and also I'm the face of it right now, but we are looking to expand to other hosts, other personalities that are big on the platform, curating what's hot because of their expertise and authority. So this is one video that, as you know, Miley Cyrus is very big. Yes, it's working. So this is our coverage of one of the videos went hot, and you'll see how we cover it, create context, and all that fun stuff.
Miley Cyrus takes it off in the twerk-free video for Wrecking Ball. What's trending now? Want to see Miley Cyrus naked and gyrating? Again? Me too. Here we go. I was promised naked trashiness. Come on, what gives? I hope they sanitize that wrecking ball after Miley jumped off it. Hey-o! See what I did there? I'm creepy. The video just went up, but there are already thousands of comments, of course. Claire Sim echoes the question a lot of people, including myself, seem to be asking, why is she licking a hammer? Hey Claire, guess what? It's her party, she can do what she wants, okay? I think that's been made perfectly clear. What do you guys think of Miley's latest video? Too sexy, too dirty, pointlessly destructive? Let us hear from you in the comments below, and click right up here to the right to see what the Insane Clown Posse thinks of Miley Cyrus. Yeah, Insane Clown Posse, we're down with the clown. Don't forget to subscribe. You guys are dope. Who uses dope?
So that was an example. You see, I mean, this was not something that would be on TV or any other platform if we were on Xbox. Like, we had to create it specifically for the YouTube audience where, you know, we get the call-outs, we're calling out to our other videos, invitations to subscribe. It's connected to the content we're talking about, so that's just an example. It's comedic, we bring in comments, we ask people what they think so that in other videos we bring back their comments into the videos so they know that they might get a shout out in a future video. So So it creates all those connections.
Right.
Yeah. That's something, yeah.
I mean, there's just so much to discuss. What's going on in social media right now? Just today, Twitter announced it's going public. And, you know, Maker Studios, I think, announced that they just got their seed round, 27 more million.
When did they announce that?
Today.
Oh, I was working. I know what you
So
mean.
now they're up to like
really.
70 million, and what they're going to use a lot of that money for is international expansion.
Like, they should get acquired at a certain point, or else no one's going to pay either. Keep raising money.
Yeah, but I mean, what's interesting is you mentioned one number that I picked up among all the numbers you mentioned there.
Yeah.
Is that I think Maker said that they have 50% of their traffic is from outside of the US. So,
Yeah.
and that's tough for them to monetize, right? So what they need to do now is kind of grow their local sales organizations in all these different countries.
Well, yeah, because a lot of everyone's part of the partner program. They have their own deals with YouTube in terms of pre-roll and all that. But the bigger money that's made is when you have these custom integrations into the content, where you connect big YouTubers or big channels with brands, and you create these big integrations. And I think that's why, yeah, you need local ad sales teams. And it's also about it's a learning curve for a lot of these advertisers to figure out, like, why is this valuable? What am I getting out of this? But I think they're starting to learn. I mean, some of these people are making, just for a shout out, they can, you know, it's a 10 to 20K deal.
Right.
And this is on the lower end, like million+ subscriber people. I mean, people are starting to understand the value and what that means. But if you want to get out of the YouTube advertising model, what YouTube is offering, you definitely you will need to sell in those languages locally, or deal with those ad agencies. And but I think it's great. I think international expansion is really important because there is such a bigger community outside. Like, I mean, for us, like, yeah, going into Espanol, like the Latin market is really important. We're working with the YouTube network in Mexico City about that. And then also, you know, where YouTube is launching these hubs, like YouTube Space LA just launched, and launching, you know, another of their headquarters, like UK, which is huge, a huge market, and Tokyo. These are things I think we're all thinking about, because there are YouTubers in those places, and so, like, what are you going to do with the growing viewership and the growing talent there?
Yeah. Do we have a
So
question?
we have a question for Hey, Shira, Ronan from Cross Campus.
Oh, hey, what's up?
So I've got two questions, so feel free to answer either or both. Totally unrelated questions. The first one is, it seems like the genres that have gotten traction on YouTube are either tweens, hardcore male gamers, or people hurting themselves. So, like, those clips there with Miley Cyrus and Wrecking Ball, that's not representative of what I think, like, this audience would watch, for example.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what's being monetized on YouTube, or is more mainstream stuff being monetized? That's question number one, and you can answer.
Wait, can I answer that?
You can answer that.
Remember the next question.
Yeah, I just don't want to.
No. I would say, let me just answer. I think it's interesting, but it is, once again, like, I think there's a whole generation. Like, I don't know if you guys, all of you, how many people, like, watch YouTube videos every single day here? When you may watch on your stream, do you go directly to YouTube? Do you subscribe to channels, any of you?
Yeah. By the way, I watch fails, so I'm guilty. I actually do watch fails.
No, but I think a lot of maybe an older demographic are catching videos that are either in Twitter or Facebook feeds, whereas I think a lot of the younger demo are actually, like, going directly there and they're subscribing. It's just like their behaviors are different, and because of that, I do think the creators are also that age. A lot of them, you have to realize some of these people are 18 to 30 that are actually the main legitimate creators, or to 35 max. Like, I don't know, maybe they friends.
But, like, other genres like Cooking Channel or politics or more mainstream, is that stuff getting traction, or is it just tweens, fails, and gaming?
No, I see, Second City just came out with the World War III, you know, parody. I think that comedy does really well on YouTube. I do believe, yeah, gaming does really well on YouTube, and the tween stuff. However, you have to think about, it is the video of Google and search. So, for politics, I felt YouTube was huge. I mean, it was where we were getting our live streaming debates. It was where little clips were being shared. It just happens that on a daily basis, I mean, and a lot of these organizations that are covering this in a very official way, they're keeping the the videos within their own structure. I don't know if they see as much, like they're not just putting it on YouTube, so you might go directly to the .com to get it.
Right. That's actually a segue into the second question.
But there are, like, Young Turks is a news on YouTube, you could say. I mean, you know, SourceFed, which is Phil DeFranco's, you know, channel, and Phil DeFranco is known as like a blogger, and SourceFed is like the news for this generation, the younger generation. They cover headlines, and it is news. I mean, they were part of the political campaign that YouTube did, and they covered, you know, all the debates and everything, and then they have also Google Plus live chats with candidates and all that. So I think it's just coverage in a different way than we're used to, and for a different audience, because it happens that all of us aren't necessarily on there in a big way yet. Just like I think Facebook 5 years ago, like I think I see my mom and my grandparents or older demos going on those platforms. I think we will all get naturalized to that as our daily media goes on that more. I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, on the watch the Daily Show. The problem is Comedy Central keeps it on their .com. It's not necessarily you're going to YouTube for that. So I think, I mean, Wall Street Journal had some fun videos that they went viral, like in puppets or something. So they are creating for that platform. It's like, what will be shared? You know, BuzzFeed is the same way. I think all of us might go to BuzzFeed.com, and you might be sharing videos from BuzzFeed.com. You might not realize it's from their YouTube channel. You're not like necessarily going on YouTube to discover those things.
Right.
So it's just a different way of how we are all consuming versus a completely other group of people.
Right. And you mentioned some publishers, rather than losing their audiences to YouTube, or keeping them on their property. And so the second question was, so Jason Calacanis, who we know loves to court controversy, a few months ago made this big call to action that if you know what's good for you, you should get, if you're a content creator, you should get off of YouTube. They're taking 45% and they don't let you control your audience. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, all right, so there's two things. Yeah, I think you can totally develop your own set. You should have control of your audience no matter what. Like, even if you develop a huge audience on YouTube, you should take advantage of that and bring it into other places. And I see everyone that's big on YouTube, the ones that are smart, are like, and I'm not going to go back to Phil DeFranco, but he has a merchandise site. He does all this merch. I mean, he's bringing in all that money.
Isn't that one of the big ideas to kind of bring the traffic around?
Yeah.
So that, if you have, you catch people on different platforms, like on YouTube, on Facebook, or whatever, and then you drive
them. That's like
back
anything, exactly. If you happen to have a Facebook page that goes viral, what are you going to do with that, right? You're not going to stay on Facebook. We all know that. You're going to say, okay, how do I control that audience?
Or one.
Big ideas.
You get to the real.
But but I see, because I did work, and I still work with a lot of companies where we put the video on the .com, and it's like, okay, you hear about the traffic, it's just like they're funneling traffic at it, but you don't really know where's the conversation, where are these people coming from? For me now, I feel like so much more empowered as a creator when I see, like, I have subscribers, I work for that, we're almost at this many views, like, I know where these people are coming from, I interact with them. There's no other platform, and we still syndicate to other sites. We're at usatoday.com, Huffington Post. We're in different, we have tentacles in different places, so we drive traffic in other places. Like, when we look at our cumulative reviews, we bring in all of that. However, we know we have a direct connection with an audience, and I feel like that is harder to just start from scratch when you're just like launching a .com, and yeah, maybe Jason Calacanis, he's an entrepreneur, a lot of people follow him. You could say, I'm gonna launch JasonCalacanis.com and have my blogs there, the videos will only be there, that makes sense. But for someone who's just starting out, the discovery on YouTube is like nothing we've ever seen before. And so you have to also realize that, like, creating your own separate thing when you're not known, you haven't established yourself, what's the discovery around that? Like, I think if it naturally goes viral or gets shared on other social networks, but there is a discoverability on YouTube that is just unlike anything else, and then it goes to other social networks. So I just feel like there's a power in that, and the community is something also that's just different than what I've seen before. And the people that are the early adopters and have built careers on YouTube that are the YouTubers, myself am fascinated with, and so I guess that just happens to be my beat, and that really encourages me to share more with their audience and bring them into what I'm doing versus just create my own islands.
Does YouTube introduce you to those folks in that region?
But isn't that one of the ideas of the YouTube networks, to kind of facilitate that so you can promote each other's videos?
Well, that's like what YouTube Space LA has really been for, is that it became a place where not only was it saying, okay, you have a provide infrastructure and production for that. It's also, I mean, every Friday they have happy hour during the summer at YouTube Space. You can meet fellow creators. They have the Next Labs, which is if you're in different verticals, a comedian or they had comedy, they had fashion, all these different types of verticals. You need
to pass some kind of bar there, right?
I think
50,000 subscribers or something like that.
I don't know the specifics, but I think there are some people that did it that didn't have a huge following, some that did. It was more shown really proving that your creativity. And I think that's interesting to me. It might not be interesting to all people if they're, have a startup mentality, and someone like Jason who's, built search engines and is really an entrepreneur that maybe is an angel investor. Like, it's a whole other world. Like, we're talking about the future of kind of storytelling content, and I would say personality-driven, content and celebrity, and it's a whole other ballgame. And I think what we do with that, what we all do with that, the people that are at the forefront of it, and the people that are on the outside looking in, it'll be an interesting thing. And I think the models are just starting to be created with the makers, the full screens, the big frames. I've definitely established it, and I think it's great that everyone's raising money. It helps all of us.
Is it trickling down to the content creators though? Because
some of them make legitimate amounts. Like, I'll be hanging out with 20-somethings that I'm like, oh, you're making more money than me, or they'll a year before, they were making no money. They were living at their parents' house, and to see that evolution is fascinating. Like, I feel like it's almost, like Barbara Walters and Katie Couric tell those times. Like, I saw, Tom Cruise, Risky Business. Like, oh, first to interview him, and he was this young guy, fresh out of whatever. Like, that's how I feel with some of these creators, where I'll discover them, and they'll just have gone viral, and they'll be thrown into this spotlight.
And I think that's amazing. I mean, that's one of the. I read an article, I think it was in Fortune or Fast Company, where they said, where they covered all these different YouTube networks, and they were talking about. I think the headline was like making it small, because there's a lot of these people.
There's niche,
who can make $100,000, $200,000 a year by just being, a vlogger on.
Well, yeah. Why would you try to? In the past, you try to work for a network or an E or an MTV, and they make probably the same or less, and they wouldn't know their audience, they'd get fired, and then they'd be back to square one. And you'd never see those people again. It's our favorite DJs. That's happened to them. Who knows who you're watching way back when. But some of these people, if they're smart, they really build a business out of it. From Smosh to Phil DeFranco to, the Fine Brothers. I see some of these, where they use their audience to build out other formats, other series, do bigger brand deals, hopefully build out maybe apps or games. Like Toby Turner raised, Tobuscus, this YouTuber, raised over $500,000 in Kickstarter himself. He didn't even need to go to traditional investors. Not everyone can do that, but things like that fascinate me, and that's, I think, proves the power of some of these people and their audiences, like even traditional celebrities or possibly Jason Calacanis. Who knows if he could even do that with just the power of the crowd, right? He could do that with the power of the VCs. But I think also we need to create a new barometer for success. Like, I think we're trying to look at everything and be like, that's the example of what it should be, or that's the example. I don't think there's one example. I think that was the past way we used to look at things, of like a blockbuster, that's a success. This is a success. Like what you said, it's the power of the small. Like, there's gonna be so many mini successes and mini models. And that's what's so exciting about what's going on. It's like, I don't think there's one path towards the right thing. Like, we're all kind of creating it. Like, some of these people might sell out to Time Warner, some of these people might sell out to Viacom, some of these Comcast, like the whole gamut.
Yeah. Because they have water out their what was so great about them to appeal to the larger audience.
Well, the fact is, the larger audience is coming to it. It's not about appealing. Like, that's where the audience is going. We're seeing it. TV is, some people are like, oh, the ratings are increasing, the viewership, blah, blah, blah. The fact is, like, it's all about content. We're gonna just see things on screens. There are gonna be apps. It's gonna be about loyalty to a brand, or how just good a piece of content is, or like we've seen with House of Cards, an incredible marketing campaign around great content and great stars that all of America knew. So that's a whole other model. It doesn't mean that's.
Because it feels authentic, and that's what the brands want to get to.
But I think we all think, everyone's like, oh yeah, all these networks are going down the drain. Like, what's the model? How are people make money? I think the fact is there's enough big companies out there that are going to need that demo advertising around it, and why start from scratch? Why not acquire a company, right? I mean,
It
it's
seems
like a
like
no-brainer.
Yeah, it seems like one of the big ideas that you had too, you mentioned it at the beginning, is realizing that YouTube is really a social network, although a lot of people just treat it as a distribution platform.
Yeah, I mean, when we tell the people that are on our show, you know, you'll say, oh, can you tweet the video, this, that, we go, like and comment. Because the fact is, the way their subscribers are consuming it is through the feeds. They're not on Twitter or Facebook necessarily. Yes, they are, maybe, but they'll see what that person liked or commented on. And so that it is in many ways like a social network in itself. And I would say a more engaging way. Like the conversion rate of the people that have 1 million is much bigger than the conversion rate of 1 million on Twitter or Facebook.
So do you have any insights into, I mean, the name of your show is What's Trending, and like, what is it that actually makes something trend or something go viral? Like, are there any specific, you just mentioned numbers, but are there any specific other engagement metrics or anything that's official, or is it more kind of like you're looking at it and you're saying, oh, a lot of people are talking about this?
It's funny because I get asked a lot. It's hard to know, like, to say, like, oh, this is what makes something viral, but when you see it, you're like, oh, I get it. So it's, you know, we see a lot of parodies, like parodies based on very popular songs that are on the charts that go viral, get shared, because people want funny takes on these songs. But they need to be smart, they need to be really witty, well-produced. Bart Baker is someone that a lot of people don't know. He has over 1 million subscribers. He's part of the Maker Network. He even said, when he started, he was a filmmaker out of school, you know, was working as a, you know, just a videographer for a company, decided to go out on his own and do these parodies. And he was behind the scenes a lot, and when he finally put himself in front of the camera, and then also looked at it as a musical, like really set it up high quality for his viewers, he felt a change in the viewership, and then also taking on very popular songs. You see that work. Taking on, you know, big news items in an interesting way.
Does it need to be 1 million views, or does it used to not have to do anything?
No, I mean, like the video. Yeah. I mean, you could see. I think it's more an increase in action and activity and engagement around video.
So it's more engagement.
But yeah, I mean, if a video has 1 million views, you're like, okay, yeah, it's getting shared. It's doing, you could say, viral. You know, a lot of people hate it though. Yeah. But it's going into the zeitgeist, into the water, right? You could say it's getting more views than many TV shows. So that's what.
But are you saying, are you the judge of what's trending, or do you actually?
Yes. Yeah. But I would say a lot of people think that, you know, we happen to be part of the early adopter crowd, just like you would say for tech and startups, like the people that are in the TechCrunch crowd. Like, you know it before the big outlets know about it, and you could say, yeah, I was following that company since
So your next business model would be $25,000 for what's trending?
But it's like, you know, a lot of people are like, I was at the August Capping Party and saw that, or TechCrunch Disrupt. I knew those companies. Well, we knew that when they were at, like, you know, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis Thrift Shop. We covered it when it was at 50,000 views. There's something to be said about it, and I think there are mechanics around that, and people are developing that. Tubular Labs is one that's really interesting, where you can see how something is being shared and the viewership around it, and
like predictive analytics.
Yeah, I think and people are looking at that, and Reddit is, you know, we look at everything right now manually in many ways, but we're all kind of figuring out definitely ways to do that in a more, you know, technical approach to it, using analytics and data, because it is possible to see.
So it's more art than science right now.
I think it's a mixture, because I think in the end, a voice goes a long way to that, and that's what people want to see, or else it would just be a website and Reddit, or, you know, the value we bring is we create original programming around these things, as well as we might bring a curation that is data-driven.
Right. So should we open up it for a few other questions? Any other questions out there?
You're so shy.
Questions for Shira.
Yeah, there you go. And there's the pressure everyone to ask questions.
Is the way that we're accessing YouTube affecting the type of content that's being created? So, meaning as Google and Apple become more involved in the TV space, bigger, easier access to YouTube through bigger screens, are we going to see longer form content, things like that? Is that something you see, or is the idea of people sitting around in the living room watching a big screen like an antiquated idea?
No, I mean, I think, yeah, I think we see it now. I think Google and Apple getting into it. I just think it depends on what type of content it is. I think some content should be long form, and some content shouldn't. I think it's also our expectation of that content. When we looked at, like, Freddie Wong, Freddie W, amazing, does special launched this thing called VGHS, Video Game High School, which is a long form, it's 30 minutes, and he launched his own .com for it, as well as threw it on YouTube. And he gets a ton of views, but it's the expectation. He also creates like little short pieces of programming. But his audience knows, like, they expect Video Game High School to be longer. And he's delivering on it. It's, you know, it's scripted, there's story to it, there's multiple episodes. So as long as I think you establish those expectations, the audience will watch it. But it just depends on what you're trying to deliver and what your brand is.
But would most people like to be doing longer form content? They just feel limited because of the size of the screen or the way that they're
I think, I mean, like, we were doing, like, we don't put up our 30-minute shows. Like, we cut it up. Just because we know also what I expect. Like, I will watch a scripted show 30 minutes or, you know, and I think there's anomalies to this, like the Daily Show, where there's maybe one-on-ones with really high-profile people, like, or a TED proves that. But I think in general, like, when I'm on my phone and I see a piece of 20-minute content, I'm not in my car. I'm stationary, standing, or like in the office, I just don't have the time, and that's just the nature of all of us. And the times I do watch longer form is when, you know, it's on the weekend, or when I'm finally at the end of my day, or at the beginning of my day. I think we just need to be honest with how we all watch stuff. Like, I think that sometimes we're like, oh, our art, or like, we all want to create this thing, but then there's that thing we want to create, and then the honesty of how we're all just consuming. And I think it's us kind of balancing that. Because I dealt with that. I was like, I want to do 10, 20-minute interviews. Like, I interviewed Joan Rivers on this Internet Week New York stage, and it was 3 minutes long, and I was like, God, that's awesome. You know, it's a bucket list. Then ultimately, if I was going to put on much training, like, they put it down to 4 minutes. And with USA Today, the same thing. Like, they asked us to cut down our everything to max 4 minutes. And that's the fact. But I do think if you have, you know, a Charlie Rose, or if you're more in depth, then that will be a niche audience. It might not be as mass, but it just depends on what you're doing. I don't think there's any rules. You establish what it is, but you do need to be honest with yourself and the audience of your information. People want it quickly.
I said the same thing in the talk, and then someone from the audience actually said something that I thought was kind of interesting. They were saying, well, that's a very LA-centric view of things, because in the rest of the world, people are using public transportation to go to work, and they might sit, you know, on the bus or.
How many things are they going to really watch? What, an hour? So they'll watch like maybe 2 things? Like, where will you?
I don't know, but it's an interesting point, though.
So I think there's different levels.
We're all driving cars here, and in the rest of the world, a lot of people are using public transportation, watching a lot of long
Well, yeah, but in the middle of America, there's a public transit. I mean, maybe they're on a bus, but they're driving to work, maybe 20 minutes in an hour, because they don't have time. Like, you still think about people that are so busy that are trying to just hold their lives together and working. They don't actually, I kind of disagree. I don't think they escape maybe at the end of the day. They're like nonstop picking up their kid, doing this, doing that. And it also depends on what your audience is, right? If you're catering to 13 to 17-year-olds, right? They're gonna be catching a video in between their class. Oh, wow, my favorite YouTuber just posted something. I'm gonna like watch it in the bathroom, in between class, and look at this. They're not gonna be sitting down for like that 30-minute thing. So it just depends on your demo.
Did YouTube also change something? Because it used to be you can only upload videos that were up to 5 minutes, and now you can upload longer stuff too.
Yeah, I mean there was actually an epic viral video of a band. Well, I think it was fast. No, actually it might have been like this long. It was like over like a few hours, drinking at like 1 beer versus like 20 beers or something, and singing the same song over and over again. What happened? And it was like over like a few hours, and it did go viral. It was fun. No, but yeah, there's not necessarily a limit. I just think you need to be honest with the audience. Like, it's not a podcast. If you want to do a podcast, it's an hour long. Look at Chris Hardwick, Nerdist. Perfect example. It's his Nerdist podcast. It's 1 hour. It's much more in depth. It's off the cuff. And then for his YouTube channel, he does, you know, it's quick, cool programming around that culture for that audience.
Right.
So you have to look at each medium in a different way. Now he has his Comedy Central show, which I'm sure will be different than his YouTube channel.
Right.
Like, it's not about being like, I just have this idea, I'm like, I'm gonna throw all the same stuff everywhere where my viewers are. It's about getting creative and telling those stories in different ways on each platform.
So let's.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask one follow-up on that. So what's the ultimate link of a YouTube video?
Well, when we saw Jimmy Kimmel uploaded that video 2 months ago. That was like 2 months, and it just, who knows what was really unfit about it, right? Like if he could have been.
Oh, the twerking or no?
Yeah, supposedly, if you want to see, according to Jimmy Kimmel and what that example, the case study, it was 2 months ago they uploaded it, and it just got 2 weeks ago. It got attention, and then you know, I think people like we started noticing it, and then I think the early adopters, like the super Reddit people and people that are obsessed with viral video and YouTube trends and all that start noticing it, and then it hits the mainstream. And usually we'll cover something and like a day or two later, like CNN or an MSNBC or a morning show will cover it. So we try to, you know, because they're still trying to wait to see what's real, what's not. Obviously they didn't do as good a job in this case. But that was an example of like a random discovery of a video. Then you have people that already have audiences that post video and within a week they have 1 million. But it's not getting necessarily traditional pickup, it's still very successful on YouTube. So there's a lot of different levels of success, and you know, you can consider on YouTube, and some things are within that universe versus what explodes out into the ecosystem out of that in the news.
But most viral videos are under 5 minutes instead.
I'd say most videos are under 5 minutes, not viral. Most videos, I mean, just the shareability of something. However, Soul Pancake, they had one that was about someone like their last, they have a series about people that are dying, and that's something that I think was on OWN that they're repurposing it. It must have been for TV, I think, which also says something that they have the budgets to do something like that also. And that was a 20-minute video, and I watched the whole thing. So because it was interesting, I didn't want to click off. So it just depends on how you create it and what should be longer versus shorter. If you want to click off after 5 minutes, we all know when that moment is, or a minute. And it just shouldn't be longer than that. Some things are worthwhile being longer than that.
So as we're wrapping up here, getting closer to the time, I wonder if you'd be open to answering a few more questions from the audience.
Sure.
Anybody have another question?
I wonder, do you consider your competition what's trending?
No one knows. I think we're interesting because I think that we have the expertise of curation, which is important, and the sensibility of what will be hot. I do hope to build more of a technology around that as we grow. We weren't necessarily technologists when we started, although we understood technology. However, I think that mixed in with our live programming and event and what we do at events and how we run brands is very unique. But I see people, it's not necessarily competition, people that are doing interesting things, everyone from the BuzzFeeds of the world to, you know, SourceFed at the time. But we end up, it's weird because at the time when we launched, we're like, oh crap, oh my god, this thing's launching. And then you realize, and this is maybe part of it as this community grows, like how unique everyone is. Like it's not really competition. Even though, and their views could be bigger, but it's like, then you realize your voice is different and like what you want to create is different, and that's why you're doing that. And I think that our view of just what's competitive changes. And because we also are this interesting hub for not only curation, but also celebrity of the platform and also traditional celebrity, which a lot of people haven't really tapped into, bridging that gap. Some people might be really good at doing it in digital, but then you throw a traditional person in and it's like, what does this mean? I think we're kind of bridging that gap. So I don't see anyone necessarily doing exactly what we're doing. I see people doing little things that inspire us, and we're like, we should be doing more of that. And they're getting more views and they have more subscribers than us, but I don't look at them like we need to be doing that because that's not why we started. You know what I mean? Like our philosophy is different and our goals and why we started what we did is different. And I just think that's, and if you talk to any YouTuber that ended up getting really big, they'll say, you know, if you approach it like that, and you're aware, you're definitely aware of it, because in the end, advertisers, like, there's only so many advertisers for everyone, right? But if you forget why you started what you did, and like where you're going with this, then there's like no point. You're just trying to be like, we're gonna be like that, or like, there's people trying to get into what we're doing though, in terms of curation and video programming around that, and you'll see that coming out, and I think in the next year there will be other companies doing more of that. We've seen it already in like tech companies like launching around curation and data. But I think that we kind of bring in everything from the tech and data and the interest in that and passion in that with original programming and celebrity.
What's trending is the best.
It's like, no, I just think, I think the idea of, just like what you said, it's like thinking, it's not thinking small. But I think everyone who started, like, they've started on YouTube, like, has a different idea of what they want out of it. And it's possible these days, right?
Did you guys have a funny rivalry when you were with Mahalo, with Pepsi? Weren't they doing something online? And they had a show.
Oh, Pepsi, I mean, at every point, like when we launched Al Jazeera, which is a social media talk show, we were all compared. At every point, every 6 months, there's another show that launches, and it's like, oh crap, and like, we're definitely aware. We always see ahead of, like, I think anytime we get used to what we're doing, this is back to being entrepreneurs, like, whenever I'm like, oh, this is getting too easy, I'm like, oh god. Transitioning happening in like, or a transition happening in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like I know we're gonna have to transition into a new thing or shift in some way because things are changing so quickly, and the moment you get used to it, it means you're losing out on something. It's like, oh, this is weird, we're getting too used to this, right? Someone else is looking out onto something else that we're not noticing. So yeah, I mean, and yeah, Pepsi launched something at a time when Pepsi is someone we actually want to work with, they're not continuing that show. A lot of people launch things, and I think the fact that we've done this, and this is like an expression of who we are and what we've always wanted to do, also is because we've been through so many obstacles, at so many points we could have just shut down or ended what we did, but because we were like, we can't see ourselves doing anything else, or we'd be doing what we do for someone else, we'd be like, oh, let's just continue. And I think that approach has allowed us to continue and thrive, versus people launch what we do, but it's like a project or it's an initiative. And when they see the obstacles, they're like, or the budget, oh, we don't have enough budget for this, like, oh, let's just end it, close it down. So they have 800 other things going on. For us, this is our baby, so it allows us to push through. And us pushing through, I think, has allowed us to thrive also.
Can we take one final question from the audience? Anybody else have one final question for Shira? Great.
When you say that idea, when you say YouTube is 45% cut, it tells me they're the only game in town. What's coming after YouTube?
Oh, what's coming after YouTube? I think that a lot of people are going to be looking to, yeah, once again, how they control their audience, and take advantage of what they've built on YouTube into more valuable properties outside of that. Like, what is the brand name outside of YouTube? And so I think that's what's next, whether it be like the apps around what people do, what are the other formats, the other screens you could approach, how you approach those screens. You know, if you are going to approach traditional, what does that mean? What does it mean if you have .com? Like all of that. I think that's what's after YouTube. I mean, and how do these creators, yeah, could they create their own mini, video network? I know Freddie Wong through BGHS has a Rocket Jump, which is his site he puts it on. Could that be a place where people that want to be like him, that have grown up with him, that are the future creators, they post their stuff? Yeah, who knows? I still don't think it will have the mass and the scale that YouTube does right now. It will take a lot of time. But I think there is life outside of it, definitely. But I don't know if there's like a
for example, Maker did Flip, for example, and some people are speculating, like, are they getting to the point where they have 5 billion that they can start to compete?
Why not have a bigger place that you can sell your advertisers to? But don't forget, like, a big part of where a lot of their creators are discovering virality is exactly the discovery, the fact that someone's searching Katy Perry and their creator, their parody is coming up the first thing. That is not going to happen on Blip. No offense to Blip. But, like, you know what I mean? People are going to Blip TV to search their favorite single. A lot of times, and while they will follow the creators, a lot of it is, people that didn't necessarily follow the creator, but they love Katy Perry, or they love applause. And they're like, I want to see everything about applause. They're not going to be going to Blip as a search engine. They're going to YouTube because it's a search engine of sorts. So I think we tend to forget that, as well as the social network nature of it. The search nature of it is huge. But I think it's smart for them to buy a place where they could expand the distribution and control that for advertisers as well. Like, the more the merrier, right? Because those are just package deals. You're saying across everywhere we get this many views. It's not just YouTube. Like, when you have an advertiser, you're like, oh, but banner ads here, we'll do pre-roll, this, that, we'll do, like, why not have more places to sell? And then if you can control, like, half of that inventory, awesome, right? So
in that sense, you use YouTube as kind of a discovery platform where you make money on other things, like, so you have more than one revenue.
And I won't say the TV network name, but like there's a TV network out there, and they said they refused it. They're looking at their network as marketing at this point, and they said they're marketing to their app, which are seeing huge watch-through rates of their shows. So they're building now the app there because they know in a few years, like, God forbid, like, what's going to happen to TV viewing and viewership. So they're marketing their app, they're seeing increased viewership, people are watching through. They're not going to YouTube. They're not putting, YouTube asked them to put their full shows there. They're like, no, we won't control that in the advertising. But you know what, we'll use it for our promos or trailers, little short form piece of content. So they're still using it because they know the audience is valuable and it's their audience that's still there. They're not necessarily going to throw everything there. So I think we'll see that dynamic a lot as we continue in the future. And Tumblr's too, just like the last thing. I think Tumblr's big, it'll be interesting to see the Yahoo acquisition and everything, but I'm seeing a lot of big YouTubers that have huge followings on Tumblr, or on YouTube, really use Tumblr in interesting ways, and the engagement around that is pretty big. I don't think it's open necessarily to new, it's not easy though, right? To new talent coming in. It's like they did it well 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they built up their following, but that's
nothing is easy. All right, thank you so much.